Even sexual harassment and assault can be made into partisan issues. President Trump finally sounds off on Judge Roy Moore plus Al Franken, and we go to the mailbag. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. So yesterday I said that we were in the midst of a flaming garbage fire in American politics. How wrong I was. We were only on the edge of the flaming garbage pile yesterday. But today we are definitely in the center of the flaming garbage heap. After all of the fallout from Al Franken, after the fact that it now appears that every Democrat will end up standing with Al Franken, and it appears that every Republican, or a lot of Republicans, will end up standing with Roy Moore, it appears that no one really cares about bad conduct, which is very upsetting to me personally, because I don't like that. But we will talk about all of these things in just 1 second. First, I want to say thank you to our friends over at Quip. So, if you're concerned about not just your oral hygiene, but your actual health, then you should be concerned about how you brush your teeth, because there actually is connection between how you brush your teeth and things like heart health, according to studies. That's why you need to use Quip. That's why I use Quip. So Quip is a new company refreshing the way people brush their teeth. It's an electric toothbrush that packs premium vibration and timer features into an ultra slim design, half the cost of bulkier brushes. It's like Apple designed a toothbrush. It's very slim. It's very sleek. It's battery powered. It has a timer on it as well, so you know when you're done brushing your top teeth, and now you can move on to your bottom teeth. It starts at just $25, and if you go to getquip.com/Shapiro, you get your first refill pack free. So they send you, you can put you on a schedule to get refill packs for the tip of the brush, which ensures that you're not using an old brush head. And you can subscribe and get a recommended 3-month plan for just $5, including free shipping. So go to getquip.com/Shapiro, and you get all of that, plus the first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. First refill pack free, getquip.com/Shapiro, getquip.com/Shapiro. It's the toothbrush that I use, and it's also great if you want to bring it on the road, as opposed to other electric toothbrushes that have a huge, kind of recharging mechanism. You don't have that with Quip. So getquip.com/Shapiro. That also lets them know that we sent you. Okay, so there's a bunch of fallout from Al Franken and Roy Moore, and I want to begin with a piece in today's Washington Post. So yesterday, there were a bunch of Democrats who sort of pretended that they cared about Al Franken. So the allegation against Al Franken, again, is that he groped a woman while she was sleeping. This woman, her name is Leanne Tweeden. Leanne Tweeden. She's a talk show host out here in Los Angeles, and she alleges that Al Franken groped her while she was sleeping, and then during a rehearsal, he had written a kiss into a scene when he was a comedian, and instead he rammed his tongue down her throat, which is just disgusting. And so all of this had created an enormous amount of controversy. In fact, we can start with Leanne Tweeden talking about Franken. Here is what Leanne Tweeden had to say about Franken's clip 9.
The world that you're making for your children, for your 2-year-old and for your 4-year-old, you realize that you are making it better for them. I don't know the genders of your children, but it actually doesn't even matter.
I have a boy and a girl.
Okay, well, but both of them need to be impacted by this, right? Not just the girl.
You always... Sorry.
Nothing to be sorry about.
I didn't think I was going to do that, but you do. You want to leave. You try to set examples for your children, right? You want to leave the world a better place.
Okay, and so the allegations against Franken are obviously serious enough that yesterday a bunch of people said, well, we'll start a Senate Ethics Committee investigation. And Franken himself calls for a Senate Ethics investigation. There's only one problem with this. It's total nonsense. Between 2006 and 2017, or 2007 and 2016, there were 613 different Senate Ethics investigation requests. How many punishments were handed down? How many sanctions were handed down? 0. Giant 0. So when Democrats say, yeah, we're treating Al Franken with the gravest seriousness. No, you're not. Plus, what would you have an ethics investigation about? There's a picture of him trying to grab her boobs while she's sleeping. What exactly is the investigation going to be? Senator Franken, did you try to grab that woman's boobs? Senator Franken, there's a picture of it, but it was a joke. Ethics committee. Well, there's a picture of it. Him. I take the fifth. Like, well, what is the investigation going to be about here? Exactly. And now we know, okay, the fact is that the left is willing to throw people under the bus when they're no longer useful to them, but they want to stick with them when they are useful, right? When it's Bill Clinton, now they can throw Bill Clinton under the bus. There have been a bunch of articles this week about how Bill Clinton should have resigned in 1998. Thanks for getting around to it 19 years late, gang. And now there are a bunch of articles about how Al Franken should stick around. So there's a woman named Kate Harding, who's the co-editor of Nasty Women, Feminism, Resistance, and Revolution in Trump's America. So she's a feminist, right? She hosts a podcast called Feminasty, which sounds like death on the ears. And here is what, and she wrote a piece for the Washington Post today called, I'm a feminist. I study rape culture, and I don't want Al Franken to resign. Yeah, I'm freaking shocked. She says, as a feminist and the author of a book on rape culture, I could reasonably be expected to lead the calls for Al Franken to step down following allegations that he forced his tongue down a woman's throat, accompanied by a photo of him grinning as he moves in to grope her breast while she sleeps. It's disgusting. He treated a sleeping woman as a comedy prop, no more human than the contents of Carrot Top's trunk, and I firmly believe he should suffer social and professional consequences for it. But I don't believe resigning from his position is the only possible consequence or the one that's best for American women. Cynics on both the right and left will presume I'm passing by this particular steam tray on 2017's smorgasbord of feminist outrage because Franken is a Democrat, and so am I. I was even his proud constituent for 2 years. In the most superficial sense, this is true. And that's not just the most superficial, that's like the only sense. There is no deeper sense. Now, you'd think Franken is going to vote the way you want him to vote, and so you're fine with this. So this is just a variation on the old Time magazine columnist Nina Burleigh's comment about Bill Clinton that she'd be willing to offer him oral sex so long as he kept abortion legal. And we're seeing this on both sides of the aisle now, and it's just gross. And I think it's something we need to come to grips with, our own grossness as humans, before we can actually fix it. Now, people talk about raising awareness. So I'm not into raising awareness when it's counterproductive, but I think it is about raising awareness when it comes to examining your own political motives, because I think that we all have political motives, and that leads us into certain cul-de-sacs of partisan aggression that I think are negative. She says, it's meaningless to say it's because I am a Democrat without asking why I am a Democrat. If you understand what it means to be a Democrat today, that is why it makes sense to vote blue over red in this highly polarized political environment, you can understand why it might not make the most sense to demand Franken's resignation effective immediately. I'm a Democrat because I'm a feminist who lives under a two-party system. I am not a true believer in the party, nor in any politician. I'm a realist who recognizes we get two viable choices. So this is the exact argument that is now being used to back Roy Moore. She says, isn't that hypocritical, I hear you asking? Because Republicans won't do the right thing, we shouldn't either. But if the short-term right thing leads to long-term political catastrophe for American women, I think we need to reconsider our definition of the right thing. Okay, so this is the exact opposite of the argument. I mean, it's the same argument, actually, that's being made. It's just the photo negative of the argument that's being made by a lot of people who are backing Roy Moore, saying, listen, if Doug Jones gets in the Senate, he's going to vote for abortion. I hate abortion. So if I have to choose, I'll choose to vote for Roy Moore. Right? It's the photo negative argument. And the problem is, if both sides make this argument, we will get people who are alleged sexual molesters and sexual assaulters in the Senate chock-a-block. They will be there all the time. And none of this is going to change. Change comes about when we realize that the ends don't always justify the means. And we realize that, yes, I would not vote for Doug Jones. Yes, I would not vote for Al Franken. But that doesn't mean that just because somebody is bad, I have to vote for their opponent, or I can't find a third solution. I can't find some sort of write-in solution. So all of this is very upsetting and disappointing, and it makes us feel like we have nothing in common because we don't. Right? We don't have anything in common. If we're to the point where we believe that sexual molestation or sexual assault allegations can be put by the wayside because it's more important to defeat the other side, then we can't live in a republic with each other. We just can't. I mean, the end of the republic has basically come. Now, with all of this happening, you can see that the politicians are using this particular mentality as a way to maintain power, and this is happening on both sides. So, for example, Roy Moore, who's been hit with all of these terrible allegations, he's coming back now, and he's saying that Mitch McConnell should step down. So the more partisan Roy Moore gets, the more he knows he's protected. Right? The harder a position he takes, the more fiery a position he takes, the more he knows that there are people who are going to rally to his side to quote-unquote oppose the other side. So here is Roy Moore attacking Mitch McConnell, saying McConnell should be the one who steps down, not me, right? Not me. I'm going to stand here wearing my cross and American flag pin amidst allegations that I have not rebutted in any serious way. Mitch McConnell is the one who should step down. Listen, I'm not a fan of Mitch McConnell, but this has nothing to do with McConnell. But again, the more partisan you can make the argument, the more you know that people will rally to your side. So here is Roy Moore saying this.
Well, I want to tell you who needs to step down. That's Mitch McConnell. There's been comments about me taking a stand. Yes, I have taken a stand in the past. I'll take a stand in the future, and I'll quit standing when they lay me in that box and put me in the ground.
Well, that's weird. And then Bob Menendez does the same thing from the other side. So Bob Menendez was not acquitted, but there was a mistrial in his trial yesterday. And so he comes out and he turns it into a partisan issue, knowing that his own side will rally around him as they were going to. Democrats would not even answer the question whether if Menendez was convicted, they would expel him from the Senate. They might keep him there, right? Now Menendez is coming out and making this partisan and making it even more partisan. So the more we now live in a dynamic where the more partisan you can make any issue, any personal issue, the better chance you have of surviving it, right? Bill Clinton was able to turn sexual molestation allegations, sexual misconduct allegations, he was able to turn those allegations in his own favor by suggesting that it was a vast right-wing conspiracy. You're seeing Moore do the same thing. It's a vast left-wing and establishment conspiracy. You're seeing Bob Menendez do the same thing on corruption. It's a vast right-wing and racist conspiracy. Here's Menendez doing that yesterday.
To those who left me, who abandoned me in my darkest moment, I forgive you. To those who embraced me in my darkest moment, I love you. To those New Jerseyans who gave me the benefit of the doubt, I thank you. To those who were digging my political grave so that they could jump into my seat, I know who you are, and I won't forget you.
So he's making it partisan, right? Everyone who backed him, he'll remember, and he will love you. And if, I mean, this is mafioso type language, right? And if you didn't back him, I'll remember you, and I will never forget you. Your name will be emblazoned on my memory forever. Again, if you can use partisanship to distract from your own misconduct, then we're just going to get the worst of the worst in every situation. Okay, so finally, here's what happens. The poll in Alabama right now with Roy Moore, the latest poll from Fox News shows that Roy Moore is down 8. I don't believe that poll. I think that a lot of people are lying to the pollsters, and I think that the race is actually much closer than that. The reason I believe that is because if you look at the Alabama results for the last several election cycles, what you see is that no Republican candidate in Alabama since 2002 has won less than 60% of the vote. So Republicans outnumber Democrats in the state like 2-1. So the idea that he's losing by 8 points would be truly shocking. But that with that said, he is apparently in a tight race. He's losing the race, and he won't step down. And as I've said before, the only person who could really step in and put an end to Roy Moore's run here would be President Trump. So we'll get to President Trump's reaction to all of these things. Finally, he's speaking out, but not in the way that I would like. We'll get to all of that in just a second. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsors over at the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. So if you are a gun owner, can you say with 100% confidence that your family and your home are safe? What if you're forced to pull the trigger? Do you know what happens next? Do you know what to say when the police arrive? You'll find the answers in the USCCA's complete concealed carry and family defense guide. And you can get yours completely free, but you have to act now. It's a 164-page guide and a free audiobook, and you will learn how to detect attackers before they see you, the safest and most dangerous places to sit in a restaurant, how to responsibly own and store a gun even if you have little kids, and more. But they're only offering this to my listeners for a few more days. So if you want your free copy, you have to hurry. Go over to defendmyfamilynow.com. That's defendmyfamilynow.com, and get your free copy of this 164-page guide that will make your life a lot safer because you'll know a lot more than you did yesterday. Defendmyfamilynow.com. Again, that's defendmyfamilynow.com. Go over and check it out. That address also lets them know that we sent you. So again, it's defendmyfamilynow.com. So check that out. Okay, so President Trump is finally sounding off about Roy Moore, but he's not actually speaking. So he sends out Sarah Huckabee Sanders to talk about it. So what is his position? Right, so Trump, who has a position on everything, right? He had a position on Jamel Hill at ESPN. He said she should be fired. He said that Colin Kaepernick is a son of a bitch who should be fired, right? Even though he wasn't really in the NFL at the time. And, I may agree with his assessments on people who kneel for the anthem, and I may agree that Jamel Hill, not that she should be fired, I don't think she should have been fired, but that she was wrong in her assessment of politics. But he's been completely silent on Roy Moore for over a week, even though he endorsed Roy Moore after Roy Moore won the primary. So finally, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is trotted out to answer questions about Roy Moore. And what this does demonstrate, by the way, is that Sean Hannity and the White House are very much in coordination because, as you recall, Sean Hannity, the night before last, came out and said that he wanted to let the people of Alabama decide. The White House is giving exactly the same message. So that is a shift. Apparently, there were reports that Sean had been getting calls from Bannon and from the White House saying, back off Roy Moore a little bit. So the White House is also backing off of Roy Moore. Here's Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying that Trump thinks the people of Alabama ought to decide, which is a truism. Again, I said this yesterday. When people say things like, let the people decide, what they're really saying is that they are not going to take a position, right? That's really what they're saying. And that's stupid, okay? Trump has taken a position on everything. Literally everything. All the things Trump has taken a position on, but here he chooses to go strategically silent. The reason that that's bad is not just because I think it's immoral, even though I do think it's immoral. The reason that I think it's bad is because Donald Trump is one of the very few people in America who could actually make a difference in this Senate race and actually make sure that Republicans keep the seat without that seat being Roy Moore's. Here's Sarah Huckabee Sanders, though, basically kicking the can down the road.
The president believes that these allegations are very troubling and should be taken seriously, and he thinks that the people of Alabama should make the decision on who their next senator should be.
So that's a no. He thinks Roy Moore should stay in?
Look, the president said in his statement earlier this week that if the allegations are true, then that Roy Moore should step aside. He still firmly believes that.
Okay, so, that doesn't mean anything, right? We now know what we know. Okay, nothing further is really going to come out here. The idea that if true, he should step aside, but let the people of Alabama decide. Again, the people of Alabama will decide, right? But he can have an impact on this race. If you were to come out and say, Roy Moore, get out, people of Alabama, don't lose this Senate race because of Roy Moore, that would actually have an impact in this race, but that's not what's happening here. And then, and then Trump tweets, but so Trump doesn't say anything about Moore, right? But he does have some things to say about Al Franken. So the allegations come out about Franken. He's been completely silent on Twitter, right? He's been over in Asia. This was the excuse for him not commenting on Moore. He comes back, and now he's on Twitter late at night. And so Trump starts tweeting about Al Franken. So he tweets the Al Frankenstein picture, and it's Frankenstein, right? But he spells Frankenstein I-E instead of E-I. Again, spell check. He says, the Al Frankenstein picture is really bad, speaks 1,000 words. Where do his hands go in pictures 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 while she sleeps? Right? And then he continues along these lines. And he says, and to think that just last week he was lecturing anyone who would listen about sexual harassment and respect for women. Leslie Stahl tape? The Leslie Stahl tape is a reference to him making jokes about sexually abusing Leslie Stahl while she's asleep or something. Now, so, Trump is perfectly willing to sound off about Franken. Now, a lot of people on the right love this about Trump, that he's not shy about sounding off about political opposition. And when it comes to the partisan battles, this is the thing that they really enjoy about Trump, is that Trump is always happy to throw a punch in the other direction. This is also really stupid strategy, okay? The reason this is stupid strategy is we are now going to get a full week of talk about all of the sexual harassment and abuse allegations against Donald Trump. Okay, there were something like 15 or 16 women who made sexual assault or harassment allegations against Trump at the end of the last election cycle. We had not yet had the Harvey Weinstein blow up, so now we're going to get to redo all of that, which is really, really exciting. And it's one of the reasons, by the way, I think that Trump has not actually come out and openly condemned Moore. Because the problem is that once you condemn Moore, once you get involved in these issues, now it comes back around to you, right? Just as Trump says, Al Franken was talking about sexual harassment in a negative way, but then he was sexually harassing people. It's very hard for Trump to be the leader, the tip of the spear on sexual harassment and abuse. Right? Huckabee Sanders was specifically asked by a reporter over at Fox News about this. Right? Here's Huckabee Sanders being asked to comment on the allegations against Trump.
Do you think he's a creep?
Do I?
Yeah.
This is Acosta. The next one,
know.
clip 5.
We should find one set of allegations very troubling, and on the other, we shouldn't pay attention to them at all, or we should totally disbelieve them.
Well, I think the president has certainly a lot more insight into what he personally did or didn't do, and he spoke out about that directly during the campaign, and I don't have anything further to add beyond that.
Okay, so basically, we're going to keep silent on this because we don't want the blowback to come back around. This is the problem with having our standards. We have our own double standard. Okay, we have our own double standard, and then our politicians pay the price for the double standard. On the one hand, we say that if they're on our side, we don't care, and on the other hand, we say if they're not on our side, we do care. That double standard has ramifications for politicians because it means that Trump is going to want to condemn Al Franken, but if he condemns Al Franken, it's going to come back around to Trump, and then the right is going to have to suggest it was that the allegations about Trump are not credible, but the allegations against Franken are super credible, which I don't buy, by the way. I think the allegations against Trump were credible during the primaries. I think they were, or during the general election. I, again, don't say that you shouldn't have voted for Trump to stop Hillary, but I do think that, I didn't. I didn't vote at the top of the ticket because I take these things very, very seriously. So, the idea that we can have as a people this double standard in our mind, that has to change. So either we're going to say as a public one of two things. We care about these allegations enough to get rid of people. Doesn't matter their political affiliation. Or we don't care enough to get rid of people. Doesn't matter their political affiliation. We're going to have to make that decision. Otherwise, we just have this hypocritical standard. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the generalized societal problem that's coming up with some of these sexual harassment allegations. And that is, as I've said now for a couple of weeks, or really 6 weeks since the Harvey Weinstein stuff broke, we as a society do not have a consistent standard that we're applying with regard to what sort of allegations to take seriously and what sort of allegations not to take seriously. So the reason that I say this is because we are treating sexual harassment allegations where a guy said something nasty and untoward to a woman the same as we are treating rape allegations. And that seems to me not correct. I think that you can condemn both, but I don't think they are worthy of equal levels of condemnation. Now, for example, there is the actress Ellen Page. And Ellen Page had this whole thing about a director she worked with or a fellow actor she worked with, I can't remember who she's talking about, who had said some, was it Ratner? It was about Ratner, I guess, who's had a lot of sexual allegations made against him. And she says that Brett Ratner at one point made some sort of nasty lesbian reference to her on the set. And this is bad. It is bad, okay? And he deserves to be condemned for that, obviously. And then she says in that same allegation, in the same Facebook post, she says that at one point she was sexually assaulted by a grip. Okay, these are not the same kind of thing, right? They're both bad, but they're not quite the same kind of bad, right? Rape and sexual assault are not the same thing as sexual harassment, and conflating the two actually ends up making light of sexual assault because it allows people to slough it off. It allows people to basically say, okay, that's the same as saying something nasty. Well, sexually harassing a woman and sexually assaulting a woman are not quite the same thing. They're both bad, but they are different levels of bad, right? It's bad to hit a child. It's worse to kill a child, right? It's bad to yell at somebody. It's much worse to hit somebody. So I think that we need to be careful about the standards that we apply, and also the credibility of particular standards. The reason that I've been so harsh on Roy Moore is because I find the allegations particularly credible because they're supporting details. It's the reason that I found Juanita Broderick to be credible. I think they're supporting details. She was in the place she said she was at the time she said she was. There were contemporaneous people that she had told at the time. But I think that one of the things that is going to happen now is the hysteria is so loud and so much that there's the possibility that we're going to jump to conclusions. We shouldn't jump to conclusions. I've called for a certain level of credibility, but I think that we should determine for ourselves what exactly that level of credibility is. In other words, I'm calling for a standard because otherwise sexual harassment, sexual abuse, these are just going to become clubs that you can wield against the other side rather than a real attempt to cleanse the society of a grave evil. So I think that's worth commenting upon. Other comment that I want to make. So yesterday, I tweeted something, and all these feminists went nuts because they didn't understand what I was saying. I tweeted that it seems like the only solution here is robot politicians. I was not specifically speaking about sexual harassment. I was saying all of our politicians suck, and a lot of politicians are willing to cover for people who suck. Okay, Kirsten Gillibrand is one of them. She came out yesterday, and she said that Bill Clinton should have resigned in 1998. She was literally campaigning with him 6 months ago. So, no, okay, all of our politicians are garbage. You may get less sexual harassment if there are more women in Congress. I think you probably would. But that doesn't mean that the legislation would be any better or that they wouldn't cover for bad behavior. Okay, that's just the reality of the situation. We as a society have abandoned a particular moral standard, and that moral standard that comes with consequences. Okay, none of this arises in a vacuum. Sexual harassment, sexual abuse, these have always happened. But we also used to have certain standards of behavior that we demanded from our politicians and that we demanded from people more generally. Now we live in a society where those standards don't exist unless we almost randomly decide that they exist again. So set a consistent standard or don't have a standard at all. But this kind of pick and choose routine is very dangerous for the heart of our politics. Double standards don't work. Okay, so before I go any further, and I want to get to some things I like and things I hate, and I really want to spend some time with the mailbag today. First, I want to say thank you to our sponsors over at Upside.com. So that business trip that you're about to book, do it at Upside.com, and you'll get two fantastic gifts. First, you get a free pair of Bose SoundLink wireless headphones, so you can have some peace and quiet on your business trip. And second, you get a better business travel experience. We use Upside.com to book my business trips all the time. Only Upside has customer service specialists who look out for you at every step of the way, handling any problem, right? Their team is available 24/7, so if there's a screw up with your flight or with your hotel or with your rental car, you call them up and there's someone on the other end of the phone. They're available on demand by chat, by phone, by email, whenever you need them. They monitor your business trip around the clock. They proactively keep you posted on everything from the weather in the city where you're going to changing your flight home so you can adjust your meeting schedule. It's really terrific service. It's one of the things that's been missing in sort of the travel arena is that once you book your ticket, you're totally screwed if something goes wrong. Not the case over at Upside.com. So here is how you can get your free pair of Bose SoundLink wireless headphones. Book your first business trip at Upside.com and use my code BEN, and the Bose SoundLink wireless headphones are yours for free. That is code BEN at Upside.com to claim my gift. Again, that's a Bose SoundLink wireless headphones just for trying Upside. One more way that Upside is looking out for you, helping reduce the stress of business travel. Upside.com, because you deserve a better business trip. A minimum purchase is required. See the site for complete details. Remember, Upside.com and use promo code BEN at checkout, and you will get those headphones, plus that lets them know that we sent you, which is great. Okay, so let's just go to some things I like and some things that I hate, because I always kind of give short shrift to the mailbag, and I don't want to do that this week. So things I like and things that I hate. So we'll start with things I like. Yes, on the plane, I had some very long flights, and I got to watch a couple of movies. One was Wind River. The other one that I saw was The Lost City of Z. The marketing campaign for this movie was really quite terrible. One of the reasons the marketing campaign was terrible is if you looked at some of the original posters, it was not clear this was a period piece. This is a better poster for Lost City of Z. It makes clear that this is a period piece about exploration. It is also true that the title of the film is really bad. It shouldn't be called The Lost City of Z. They should have called it The Explorer or something. Something that actually the interest of the film is not really in the search for the lost city of Z. It's really in the biography of the central character of the film. And the performances in this film are actually quite good. I'm not a big Charlie Hunnam fan. I find him mannered. But Robert Pattinson gives a terrific performance. I didn't even know Robert Pattinson could act. As Mathis was pointing out to me before the show, both Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart can act. But as Donald Trump said, she cheated on him like a dog, and she'll do it again. Just watch. So Robert Pattinson is very, very good in this movie. The movie is about an explorer named Fawcett, and he is searching for this city in the Amazon. He thinks that there is this lost city in the Amazon, this sort of city of gold, and he goes searching for it, and he sort of leaves his wife and children behind. His wife's played by Sienna Miller, who's quite good in the film, and all the performances actually across the board, except for Hunnam's, are pretty good. So here's a little bit of the preview.
To dream, to seek the unknown, to look for what is beautiful is its own reward. A man's reach should exceed his grasp. Or what's a heaven for?
You are the explorer? Give me a hand.
I wish to find a lost city.
What you seek is far greater than you ever imagined. It is your...
Okay, so the preview is you can see it's beautifully directed. It's really well acted. It's really Oscar bait. And it's been largely ignored. It didn't do any sort of business at the theater, so far as I can tell, even though it's got a bunch of big-name actors and a really big budget, and it's beautifully shot. There's a whole World War I sequence that's really well done. So it's well worth watching. It is not an uplifting film. It sort of tries to be, and it sort of tries to be politically correct at the same time. There are a few kind of politically correct tropes in there, but it's well worth watching. Okay, so I have more things that I like and some things that I hate in the mailbag, but for that, you're going to have to go over to dailywire.com and subscribe. For $9.99 a month, you can get a subscription to dailywire.com. That means that you get the rest of my show on video live. It means that you get to be part of the mailbag, so if you subscribe right this minute, you can be part of the mailbag, which we'll be doing in about 5 minutes, and you can ask me questions and have all your life's questions answered. You also get the rest of Andrew Klavan's show live, the rest of Michael Knowles' show live. We're going to start doing a new show on Fridays that should be pretty great, where we just sit around and discuss culture, me and Klavan and Knowles and Jeremy Boring, the God King of Daily Wire. So that should be a lot of fun. Plus, you are going to be able to get discounts at the Shapiro store when that does come. It will come. I've been promising it. It's like the wall. It's going to happen. I promise. Except, unlike the wall, it may actually happen. But if you get the annual subscription for $99 a year, you will also get this, the very finest in all beverage vessels, the Leftist Tears hot or cold mug. I will call it a mug just to spite Steven Crowder. It is spectacular. It is grand and glorious, so you get that as well. If you just want to listen later, go over to YouTube, subscribe. Make sure that you go to iTunes and SoundCloud, subscribe there, and leave us a review. We always appreciate it. We are the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast in the nation.